Well, hello everybody and welcome to the XD Challenge. I'm your host, Jesse Showalter. Excited to be here today. We got people hopefully jumping in the chat here pretty soon. It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a good old grand day. Let's see, we are on. I'm just making sure that all things are working technically. Hey, if you're out there, say what's up. I'd love to chat with you on this fine Tuesday. Let's see. We're having some troubles with the XD Challenge on Behance, but it's still showing on some of the streams. So we're going to keep cruising, everybody, and we're going to talk a little bit about what the XD Challenge is. Hey, the XD Challenge is a series of challenges in Adobe XD to strengthen your UI UX design and Adobe XD skill set. We are on challenge number 2 today, and that challenge number 2 is going to be to build a custom app to practice your layout and interaction skills. We're gonna be doing a pool maintenance app, which will be a lot of fun because summer's ending. Gotta maintain those pools. It's gonna be a whole lot of fun. And so to do that, all you have to do is jump over to behance.net/challenge/XD, hit that big blue button, start the thing, get in the community chat, come on down and hit that maintenance tracking app, grab your starting file, watch the video, and make sure you join the XD Discord server with thousands upon thousands of creatives just like you learning and growing. So should be a really fun time. And let's jump right in and get started. All right, so we have a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're gonna keep on cruising because we have a starting file. And if you're watching this on replay and you got a hold of that starting file, well, then you have just about the same thing that I'm looking at right here. You should be able to get cranking, get going. Let's see. I'm going to zoom right in and let's talk about what's on my artboard, because what do we have over here in the starting file? We got some inspiration. You got your resources down there in the component and all the instances of the component, or the variables, excuse me. You can switch back and forth, and we have our starting application. Doing a mobile app today, 428 by 926. Let's see. So we are just, this is what we're starting with, a nice light neutral white background, and it looks like we may have gotten our technical difficulties all fixed up, but we are cranking away with our starting artboard, and we have a little button we created. We got some text links on the top, maybe a little bit of iconography, but I want to start bringing in a lot of really fun color. So I have this really cool, very pool, very water, like just monochromatic like color palette up at the top. We're just doing all white, all blue, all the time, all summer, all water, all fun. Hey, if you're in there, we got Mike Henberg, we got Mustafa in the chat. Anika is going to be moderating today. If you are just joining us, you got through our technical difficulties, you have superior patience and diligence for cranking through, and we love you. Thanks for being here, part of our XD Challenge streams, as well as all the other fun Adobe Live content here on Behance. Okay, so why don't we get going? Because I have this idea that will maybe kind of, let's start with like where we're coming from this idea. I'm going to take my series of links here. You can see I have active and inactive links, right? Obviously our active here, and we can put like some sort of like rectangle underneath showing that this is more of our active state. Let's take our border off and we'll just highlight it with kind of our blue color. Okay, and then we could zoom in and round the corners, or we could just round them right over here. Let's just put them up to like 110, and now they're like a nice round little corner there. We'll like minimize, we don't need the line to be that big, but now we have this really fun little kind of situation happening here. So what I've taken this actual, all these links here, what we'll actually do is we'll bring these out and we'll start from scratch so you can see all the stuff that we want to do here, right? So first off, let's take our active state here, and we're just going to group that together. But then we have the rest of these links that we want to actually combine. So I'm going to group those together, and in my layers panel, I'm just going to call this links, like so. And as soon as you group something together in Adobe XD, you're able to use this really fun feature called stacks. When I turn on stacks, it's going to allow that group or that stack to control the padding in between, and we'll just automatically add things inside of that group to the stack. What do I mean? Well, we cruise over here. Let's say we had feature schedule options and we wanted some, maybe another like link inside, copy paste. It perfectly spaces it inside the stack. You delete it, perfectly removes it. And again, when we grab the entire grouping, we can actually come over here, just right here inside of our panel, and we can change the spacing if we don't like it. We have it set at 32. We like it. It works for us. It's not bad. But what we can do next is also turn on horizontal scrolling. To do that, I'm going to move my head out of the way. I'm going to scroll in right over yonder, and you can see we have a couple of options. We have turning on scroll groups with either horizontal, we have vertical, and we have horizontal and vertical, which is really good for maps. So let's turn on our horizontal. You can see we just hit that, and now we get some little scroll bars that have been implemented on our design, right? You can see these. And when I grab my scroll bar, I don't want it to scroll and then scroll off that little grouping right there. You can see what happens is, see our little gap here? We don't want that. So we want to grab our little handle and just move it all the way over to the left. Look, now our scrolling takes place all the way over to the edge. Now, there's a couple fun little things you might want to do inside of your scroll group. One of them is if you are not digging the space, because when we press play, we will get that last options when it's like right up against the edge of our artboard. Maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you need a little bit of space. Let's hide our preview. I'm just going to do a little hack I call the spacer hack. I'm going to Command C, Command V, woo, and I'm going to put another one inside. I'm going to drop it behind. Also, when you move things around the layers panel using your stacks, it actually changes its position in the stack. Mind blowing, super fun. But now what I'm going to do is just kind of maybe put the word space there. Do you see that, the word space? I'm going to bring the opacity of that guy all the way down. And now when I drag over, I literally have the word space spacing it out. Get it? The space hack. I actually like to type the word space in there. Why? Because it's an invisible inside joke just for me, and that's okay. That's what I like. Okay, so now we have this draggable, horizontal, scrollable, kind of like navigation thing at the top. That's super fun. But what happens when we scroll over and maybe like we tap like over here or something? We want the whole thing to scroll over, and then we want like whatever contents there are on the screen to actually change. So let's do some fun stuff with the screen here. I'm going to move these logos or these icons out of the way. I actually really like this little home icon. I'm going to shrink that down, and I'm going to give us like a nice accent color. Now, I really do love these colors. So what I might want to do is come over to my assets panel here, my document assets, and I might want to grab these, all of the rectangles that have the colors actually placed in them. I'm going to add all those colors into my document colors. Now, anytime I use something like, for instance, I want the fill of maybe my little gear icon over here to be blue, I could have it be this color, I could have it be this color. But what's great is that if at any time I come in here and I actually change, I edit what this will be. I'm just going to copy this hex color really quickly. If I change it here in this spot, maybe to be like an orange, look what happens. It changed here, it changed there, it changed everywhere. Wow, orange is actually kind of a nice complementary color when we're working with blues, but let's stick with this, with our blue, okay? I'm just saying it's a good way to do things, right? So we're going to right click on this one and apply to, because you can see this one has a border color over here for this icon. So we don't want to apply it to the fill, we want to apply it to the border. Now all of a sudden it has imbued the document color, and we are working smarter, not harder. Let's keep cruising and doing some fun stuff, shall we? Okay, so we have like our pool right here. I actually really hate this this icon up there. So maybe what we'll do is we'll keep it. We'll just move it out of our design. I don't want it in my design right now. You know what I really want? I really want avatar. That's what I really want. So I'm just going to grab like an ellipse here. I'm going to kind of line it up with the edge of my button right there. And then I'm going to head over to a plugin, and I'm going to find a great plugin called UI Faces. Love me some UI Faces. I'm just going to say, hey, find me some UI faces. Here's a friendly face, and we're going to apply that friendly face, boink, right in there, just like so. I love it. Look, now we're building a little bit of an application here. All right. Okay, cool. I like it. I like it a lot. What we need to do next is add some serious fun color, but let's theme this thing out. Let's have some fun today. I'm actually going to take I'm going to hit P for pen tool, and I'm going to let's create a wave that we really like, shall we? So I'm just going to use my pen tool, and I'm just going to make some gentle curving waves here. Ooh, I like this wave. Okay, that's enough wave. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to draw kind of like a nice square. Fun little thing, like when we kind of link up, I'm going to hold shift to get an absolute straight line out of our pen tool instead of being able to do whatever we want. Get that straight line. and then I kind of link up there and close my shape. Let's now close that, fill it, you guessed it, with a document color. Beautiful. It's exactly what we wanted. I love it. Okay, now this wave is really, really big, so we might actually chill this wave out a little bit, but let's drag it into our design. Okay, and I'm thinking we have like a bottom section here, and what could be really fun is we'll just duplicate this wave. Let's actually delete here. We'll name this thing. We'll call this wave, and then copy or Command C or Control C, depending on your operating system, Mac or PC. And then the same thing by doing Command or Control C, Command or Control V, we get our second wave. Let's fill that with our second color, or maybe this more of this light blue color. And then I'm going to hit Command left bracket just to drop it behind in my layers. Really nice, fun little quick key command there. I'll just shift it over a little bit just to give it a little bit of variation. We'll do the whole thing again. I'll grab one we like, give it that lighter color, drop it all the way behind those things. Now you can edit your wave to be a little bit different than mine if you want. Maybe you can move on that side. I do want to have just a little bit of space to actually put, you know, some items inside, some content inside, right? We can be playful and have fun inside of our UI design, but things still have to be functional. That's the big thing, is things have to be functional first and foremost. Okay, now I'm thinking what we do here is, why don't we actually just bring this up to fill this space a little bit more. We'll bring this our navigation down a little bit. We're having fun. Jasmine says, learn some color theory. I love it. When I use colors in my design, the design feels harsh. You might want to go over to something like Adobe Colors or Cooler and just play with colors, right? You might want to jump into a nice plugin over here, like the one we used in yesterday's challenge called Dopely Colors. I love that one. So we could hit Dopely Colors, and we could just look for some fun color palettes inside here. You know, hey, if you have trouble with something, find a resource, find something to help you. I think that's always the most effective thing to do. We're all learning, we're all growing, so figure out what you need to learn and grow in, and kind of double down, find a little help, find some resources, tune into these streams maybe, right? Okay, cool. So I kind of have my waves the way I want them. Let's do a really fun big like interface element on top of it. What kind of element? Let's do a graph, right? Because if we are maintaining the levels of our pool, I probably want to see that in graph form. I'm going to round my corners to something like 16 pixels. I'm going to take the border off of it, no need, because we're going to drop a nice drop shadow on this bad boy. All right, so why don't we, I like to keep my drop shadows under 12% if I can, if it at all possible. I'm going to blur this thing out and drop the y-axis down. See how it's just kind of dropping a little bit of dimensionality up on us? You kind of have, unless you drop it down, you start going like, ooh, that's not really, like, I can't really see it. Well, the thing about drop shadows is you shouldn't really see it. You should feel it before you see it. Does that make sense? Okay, that's my little drop shadow tutorial for the day. I'm going to take that and just bring it down even more. Let's go down to maybe like 9%. Because I feel like we can feel it before we see it. So that's really good. I think we lost a button in here somehow, didn't we? Let's grab this and just move it to the top. So it's popping like this. At any time, our user should be able to book a cleaning, which is nice because we're giving them a nice, concise call to action. I'm going to group that together. I'm going to call it button. And you know what? Let's just rename that real quick. Beautiful. I'm going to hit Command K. I'm going to turn it into a component. You know why? Because later on, I might want to reuse that button, and I can just drag out another instance of that variable or of that component, which is really, really nice. Create those components, and you know what? Let's be a little iOS native here. We are going to grab and just create a native element, which would be a like a pull or a scroll bar. Not a scroll bar. This is the pull-up bar. My bad. And we're going to do that and just round those corners. And let's go back to our selection tool using V on the keyboard and pop this down there. Good. Now it's looking much more like native to the iOS operating system, right? Okay, cool. Now let's create a fun little graph, right? First thing we need to do, obviously, is we got to create some graph lines. Those are always really, really fun. Let's leave a little space here. And I like this. Let's lighten our line here just a little bit. And yesterday we played with dashes and gaps. We'll do the same thing today because they're oh so fun. I'm going to cruise over and grab my selection tool. And then we need a little text. So I'm just going to borrow maybe from the button. Yeah, let's borrow from the button. We could create like an entire thing of like text styles and really start doing that, but that might be overkill at this point, right? So let's go back to our layers and just make sure that we have a nice visible color, something like that. It's a little bold for our chart right now, and it's a little large. So let's bring it down. It should be pretty small at this point. Let's say like you're kind of tracking like the different measurements of the pool by hour or something. Okay. All right. So I just messed with my dash and my gap, so I didn't get some sort of weird little element thing there. We don't kind of want to get rid of that. Okay, I like that. Let's line that up right there. I like that. I'm gonna grab that, group it together. Let's just duplicate another one over there, another one right here. I love it. And we'll just kind of, actually, let's group that whole thing and we'll center it in our card. Booyah. Booyakasha. That's looking really, really nice. Now, you know what's really interesting about balancing this thing is that it is technically balanced, right? But it's not optically. It's mathematically balanced, but it's not optically balanced. Why is it not optically balanced? Well, if we were to put our text on the other side and then we were to balance this thing, now this line is in the center, right? Okay, cool. Now we could just cheat and move our 3-hour mark back over to the other side. It's just a good note to remember that sometimes things can look a little wonky even though they're mathematically balanced. You can come in and just optically balance them, and that'll kind of fix that up for you. Don't be afraid to let your design eye kind of take the lead. Sometimes math is great and we love it and we depend on it, but sometimes your eye's pretty smart too. Just, you know, have confidence in yourself. Okay, that's the PSA for the day. Let's do a little bit of a fun little line chart here. Like maybe our chlorine levels are going off the chart. Okay, that's what we want. We're gonna bump up the size of our yeah, we can kind of play with these nodes, and maybe they got real wonky like 3 hours ago. I like it. Okay, we'll go like this. Somebody said, feel it before you see it. Ooh, I love it, right? It's okay, right? We're not artists, we're designers, but there is such a thing as feeling it in your heart as a designer. Let's open up our color here, and what we're gonna actually have to do is go to Object Path, outline the stroke. Why? Because we want to put a linear gradient onto this little line of ours, right? Okay, so why don't we, ooh, yes. Why don't we just grab maybe like the light color on one side, and for our dark color, maybe we'll go more to like this bluish, or should we go even more extreme to the dark blue? Oh, I do kind of like that. Let's add a middle stop here. Adding that middle stop just brings that much more variation. I know a lot of times people are like, oh, start, stop, it'll do the work in between. Now, sometimes when you do linear gradients, you want to dictate a little bit so you get all the fun, all the spiciness that you want out of that sucker, okay? I'm gonna hit E for ellipse and draw a little ellipse over it. And let's go ahead and open up our document styles. Let's fill it with that nice kind of standard blue color. Take our border off, pop it right there, and then we'll copy, paste, drag out a little bit, just expand the size. Let's put the border on, and let's apply this to, not the fill, the border color like that. That could be fun. And you know what? I feel like it needs to be the lighter one for some reason. Does it? Does it need to be? No, I don't think it needs to be. But I'll tell you what, I don't like that you can see through it. I kind of want it to be its own element, right? So why don't we actually fill it with white, and we'll take our little dot here and drop it behind, and now it kind of stands as its own little element. And I'll tell you, it really ticks me off that it is not the dark color. So we're going to fix that. We're just going to fix that real quick. I like the light color around the outside, actually. Okay, it's a bit large in my opinion, so I'm going to bring it down. It doesn't need to be that big. Something like that. I think that looks pretty swell. If we're to pull a phrase from the 1940s, let's be swell, shall we? Okay, I'm going to grab the whole thing, group it together. And if you wanted to, you could actually just do them one by one. You could add a nice little drop shadow. That's actually kind of a nice vibe. So we might do that and then group it together. Have a drop shadow there. And oh, we could do a fun little, yeah, let's just stop there, right? Because we got other cool things we want to do today. So, whoa, I zoomed way out. Let's zoom back in, shall we? And we'll just take our graph, all of our pieces of our graph, and we'll group it together. Let's call it graph in our layers panel. How are we doing on time? We got some time. We got a couple minutes here. So I'm going to move this guy down because we need to do our interactivity a little bit now. We're just centering that, and what we want to do is create some really quick components and some toggles. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hide our graph really quickly, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some toggleable settings inside of our wave. This is going to be fun. Okay, so let's do this text right here, and we'll bring the opacity of it up. And let's actually, because it's kind of like a light color on dark, let's pop it to bold so we get some real good contrast here. So let's do like, how do you spell vacuum? Ah, 1 C, 2 U's. Who'd have known? Okay, let's do vacuum there. So bad at spelling. Let's do, this is going to be another word that I can't spell. Chlorine? Who can spell chlorine? Chlorine? We're going to go with it. Yikes. Let's talk about how I enjoy designing, but I hate grammar and everything to do with it. And then let's do one more. Let's do like pH or something right here, okay? We'll go pH level. Okay, cool. Or maybe it's like, yeah, vacuum. We'll put like auto chlorine. Ah, yeah, like auto pH. Right, so we can turn our vacuum on and off. So to do this, we're gonna have to create some quick little toggle buttons. That's really easy to do. We're just gonna draw a rectangle, and we're gonna round that rectangle to make it a little bit long like this, and that's maybe a little too long, so we'll bring it in. Let's take the border off. No need for the border. I think that the border might be a little bit overkill, but we're gonna create another one. Command C, Command V, or Control if you're using a PC computer, which I 100% support because PCs are rad. Let's do this kind of middle blue color, and we'll just 25 by 25. Let's lock our aspect ratio and shrink our toggle button down inside. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to grab these elements and group them together. We're going to call this toggle. Okay, so we have it toggled on to start with. Command K to create our create our component. And then what we need to do is have a toggle state. Do we see what we're doing up here? It's going to actually bake in all that toggleable goodness. And we'll call this one toggle off. Once we are now editing the toggle off state, we were about 11 pixels from that side. Let's be 11 pixels from this side, and we'll bring the opacity, just bring the opacity down. That's all we got to do. Boink, like that. Okay, beautiful. Now we have this component. All we have to do is just bring and create some other instances of this component down there. All right, so let's just look at this really quick. We should be able to toggle them on and off like so. Really, really fun. Now I created all these. Let's just put these on the same line. We will group them together, and we are almost out of time today. So let's just make sure we're aligning things and grouping. Aligning things and grouping. Beautiful. They're exactly where I want them. We're kind of just spacing them out. All this stuff is good. But what we want to do is grab all of these, group them together, and in our layers panel, we'll call these toggles. Okay, so we have our toggles, but we still have our graph, right? We're going to take our toggles and move them over to the right. Whoop. Like that, just off canvas a little bit, and we have our graph right there. All right, everything's looking good. And you know what we might actually do is group these together, the toggles and our graph. We'll call this the content, okay? Because we have our toggles inside of a group that's still connected on the artboard, right? It doesn't fall off the canvas. It stays as part of it. And now what we can do is duplicate, right? We can call this number 2 over here, and we can call this number 1. And what we can do is just take the content and swipe it over in place. Beautiful. And we will take our active state. Maybe we won't. You know, we might have to fix this, how this active state thing is playing out. Let's get rid of that really quickly. And let's get that active state. Okay, we could do this. We could do this. We got time, right? We're going to call this our active state here. Okay, and we're still in the scroll. Beautiful. Okay, so let's do that. Yep, we'll do that. Okay, yeah, let's go. We might just copy all these elements and paste them over here. We'll slide this thing over. Oh, come on, you can do it. We might get rid of this, actually. And we'll just make this really, really simple instead. Why don't we just make the active state a nice color like that, and we'll go back and make this down to our inactive state, and of course we want this to be our active state. Beautiful. Okay, now with that being said, we should be able to still scroll left and right, but there should be when we click here, so we're going to go up to prototype for our final thing of the day. We'll click on features, drag over. What are we going to do? On tap, auto animate to timer 2. Why don't we do a little snap? That'll be kind of fun. And we'll keep it kind of snappy at 0.5 seconds. I got about 1 minute left and we are done. And then I will come over and just return the favor. I will press play and we should be able to go back and forth. Look at that, between our 2 different areas, and turn these on and off. And now we have a nice functioning prototype and application. Hey, that's our challenge for the day. We're finishing right on time. I hope you've had a fantastic time with me today. We got more challenges coming up this week with me, your host, Jesse Showalter, on the XD Challenge. Stick around. We got a lot of great content here on Adobe Live here at Behance. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Make sure you submit your work into the Discord. At the end of the week, I'll be taking a look at all of your challenges, doing some reviews and giving you praise and just telling you how thankful I am for you. Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. Get some rest, do some design work, have some fun and delicious food, and we'll see you right back here at the same time tomorrow. Take care.